Hi, everybody, and welcome to the RHAP B&B for week 3 of Survivor 48. My name is Mike Bloom, and for you eagle-eyed viewers who watched the video version of this last week, yes, I am still wearing the pizza shirt, not only in honor of our fallen brethren, but look, I am, for lack of a better phrase, committing to the bit. And we have a lot to get into with the episode of the same name, a tribal council that takes up a third of the episode, a journey that's all about dice, literally dice, and plenty
Dice?
as we finish off one phase of this wild season and look ahead to the next. Of course, I am joined by someone who would never be described as dry and empty, unlike a nice island white wine. It is Liana Boraas. Liana, how are you?
I'm doing well. I also like the idea that you've been wearing the pizza shirt the entire week. Like you have not taken it off, not that you took it off and put it back on. So I'm living in that reality. And also, similarly to what you mentioned in the intro, I could not get over Thomas going, dice? Die? Like dice? I don't know why that really made me laugh. It was giving Arrested Development B.
That's exactly, or like Seinfeld of just like the back and forth, like
Yeah,
dice, really dice. Thomas and Bianca
fantastic.
were honestly like soulmates made for each other. As much as we're going to talk about another sort of platonic ideal of a couple in a much more toxic way in Mary and Say, that one truly feels like a match made in heaven that might
Mm-hmm.
soon be torn apart by the upcoming swap. But first, we got to get into how we finished up the pre-swap phase of this to see maybe the final sinking of the Vula ship and someone who is there boots on the ground in maybe not the room where it happens, but a room full of many, many people that have already gone viral reacting to all the shenanigans that went down. And she was probably part of that throng. Very excited to welcome back to the B&B, Sasha Joseph.
I'm here. What an episode. The mess is here, baby.
Yes, exactly. Like, truly, you are a mess magnet. And this tribe is a magnet for a lot of mess, considering that through 3 episodes, Cedric has not only voted for all 5 members of his tribe, he somehow, through 3 rounds of voting, voted all the other people at tribal council besides himself, which he was not allowed to do, but also feasibly could because of these rules where he could have auto-rocked himself out of the game.
That's what I'm saying. There was a universe when all of this was happening where I thought, oh my God, Cedric's gonna have to go home. Like Cedric's gonna have to vote for himself and eliminate himself. Everybody else is safe. This was when they started going to tribal council. I looked down at my little clock because I'm taking notes. It's 9:09. 9:09, and we're going to tribal council, baby. This was way too early for any of this to be happening. It was just such a bizarre, weird episode, but really, really fun.
Yeah. It's just I'm not a survivor girly, and then I feel like I'm a casual. I get excited about the episode and then I'll like forget about it most of the time. But
Should
I'm
we
not
call that like
forgetting
the
things.
goldfish level of Survivor
Yes.
fan?
Oh, thank you. You know what? I love that even better. So I will be using that now. Thanks, Mike. But yes, that's where I am, and it feels really exciting to be like gifted with the opportunity to watch this episode with stands because as soon as everything happened, because I knew from the East Coast feed, I didn't watch anything, but I'd heard that it's a crazy tribal council. So I'm like, oh, waiting for, okay, something crazy will happen. Fine. And the levels of chaos that kept coming and coming. I said, oh, okay, Cedric goes home. That was a crazy way for this to happen. So I'm just, in my mind, I already created that dynamic. So thank you to Survivor 48 for that.
Well, so from that perspective, I do want to ask Sasha because look, there's a lot to get into. This episode was nothing if not eventful, but I do see a bit of a split opinion online. I certainly have seen some people be like 10 out of 10 episode,
Mm.
maximum drama. I mean, look, certainly for Team Mess, we'd love to see a situation where both Say and Mary continue in the game. We'd love to see a situation where Cedric keeps Say in despite voting her out twice in the same night. On the other hand, I have seen people talk about how convoluted and sometimes confusing the series of events are. Obviously, we'll get into everything that happened in the journey. I even saw one person say that like this episode kind of represents from a production perspective everything they don't like about the new era. So from your self-admitted goldfish perspective, Sasha, give us the bullseye view here. As all of this was going down, were you kind of following along with it, or were you just more so reading the vibes of what was happening?
Talk about gifts, because I was watching this. It felt like a one-on-one VIP thing that I won with the Danielle Reyes.
Woo!
When I tell y'all, it felt like, so we were like to a corner. So yes, I could follow along. And I knew what was going on, but I just felt like, and this is, I think, what everyone online is also doing. Every single one of us had a different desired outcome, or desired process, rather. I should even say, I don't know about outcome. So we all had a desired process, and each of us had different process. So for me, I was watching and I said, okay, Mary's out. Cool. That's easy. In my in my basic mind, they should have like blacked out Mary, right? Or like grayed her out to be like, she doesn't count. Okay, Justin does not count. Now say does not count. And it's all Cedric, right? That would have been helpful. But in reality, yeah, I felt like I could understand everything except, and I still don't necessarily agree with it, that after the second revote where Cedric forces another tie, you're out of here. Goodbye. Cedric, don't. What are we doing here? He got to go. So that's the only piece where I felt a little bit lost. And I was excited to like hear what everyone else smarter than me was trying to theorize.
Well, I mean, I think part of it is there's the core rules that have pretty much always existed about
Right.
deadlock ties. And so from everything moving forward from the shot in the dark, where it's a null vote, okay, we revote again. All of that protocol was standard protocol that has existed in Survivor for a long time, right? So I think probably where a lot of the criticism and concerns maybe are coming from is from everything sort of prior to that, right? Like the addition of the shot in the dark, Justin losing his vote. And I've seen a lot of criticism about the fact that he lost his vote, not because he couldn't complete a puzzle or he couldn't complete a physical challenge, just purely because of dumb luck. Like he
Which I
didn't roll the
hate.
die
Yeah.
in the right way. So I think, and then that's also, I think on top of that, he didn't even choose to go on the journey.
Nope.
Someone else chose for him. So I can understand a situation where, well, if Justin volunteered, Justin recognizes the risks, that there's an opportunity for him to lose his vote, but he didn't get that opportunity. He was forced to go. He was forced to play the game, and then through chance lost his vote. So I think that from my understanding, I think that's more where a lot of the frustration is coming from, not necessarily from like all the voting nonsense,
Yeah,
which just happened as a consequence of
Yes.
all of the other advantages or lack
Yeah, I mean,
thereof.
well, what's interesting is to your point about like standard protocol, there are these precedents that have been set up, some recent, some previous, of like, okay, in the past, when it was tied vote between two people, those two people usually don't vote because, hey, they would only vote for each other and cancel each other out. But we found out last season, hey, if somebody lost a vote, theoretically, if everyone got their vote in the tiebreaker, then those votes wouldn't cancel each other out. So the balance is thrown off. So say you get it. And then again, to that point about the deadlock, whenever we have had like the purple rock scenario, we even saw this in 42, right after the deadlock, there was conversation among the people that would be vulnerable. It's just in this case, it was one person. And I think this to me falls upon, and again, some people were absolutely riveted by this, and I enjoyed the mess it created. Again, as someone who team chaos all the way.
Correct.
At the same time, this felt to me like a confluence of factors that just don't work in the 6-person tribe structure, right? Like, there's a reason why in the individual portion of the game, you don't have a shot in the dark at the final 4. You don't have people losing their votes at the final 4. The only reason why Cedric was the lone decider of one of these people's fates is because there were only 4 people on the tribe. And I know it's this whole thing about keeping track of people in smaller groups, or like the dangerous fun of there's nowhere to hide. But this really was just such a perfect, unfortunate storm, not only for Justin, but I think for the show in general, that you had the shot in the dark combining with the lost vote, combined with this 1-1 continuous deadlock, that it then came down to this one person determining the course of the entire tribe.
So I have a question for y'all that I was holding as well. Because yes, exactly what the two of you said, right? Liana, you talking about Justin going on the journey, plus Mike, where you're saying it's kind of unprecedented because of where we are, right? Or maybe it's precedented because of where we are, however you want to take that. And my question was, could they have added another rule? right? Like a whole new rule because, hey, now we've never been here before, but this is now a very real possibility because of all these new game mechanics that Justin didn't have a chance, right? It was rather all left a chance. So does that mean that Say and Justin go directly to fire so that everyone has a chance to fight for themselves? Because all agency was taken away from Justin and even Say, because like in normal like things they would both have been safe, right? Like and then you can't vote for people that are tied anymore.
Yeah, it would have been if Mary did not lose
Yes,
her vote, it would have been a discussion between the two of them as to,
correct.
okay, do we continue to deadlock this? And then it would be a rock draw between the two of us.
Okay.
And to your point, let's go back to Survivor history. The rock draw was first introduced in the final four of Survivor Marquesas. They realized after Pascal went, oh no, that was a bad idea. Because theoretically, even by the rules, like they did a rock draw between three people. It should have actually been only Pascal who ended up getting eliminated automatically. So they said, okay, now it expires at like final five, final six, and we'll do fire making at final four before it was adopted permanently. So yeah, I do kind of wonder if that should have been a stipulation they threw in rather than kind of pursuing this route that they did.
I don't know. I think it's interesting because essentially your appeal, like Justin and Say both had the opportunity to appeal to Cedric, right? I
Okay.
mean, that's what
Yeah.
we see this conversation be. So, okay, so Mary saves herself via mechanism in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have two people who are essentially at the behest of their social relationship with Cedric. And that's really ultimately what it comes down to. And I heard that this tribal council actually went on for much longer than what
Yep.
we saw. So like 2 hours of
Justin
arguing.
alleged to me that it was like he said that apparently production said it was one of like the longest, non-final tribal councils in the show's history.
Right. So
Wow.
they had a lot of time to really advocate. I mean, at least that's what it sounds like. What we
Yeah.
saw, though, was obviously not so much, but that is Survivor. Survivor is using your social game to make moves. And Justin seemingly had it on lock with his relationship with Cedric. Cedric was willing to send Say home, voted for Say twice to send
Mm-hmm.
her home. And then Justin, maybe as a consequence of the poor decision to not tell Cedric about his lost vote, which I was shocked that he didn't say anything to Cedric, but
Well, you
whatever.
didn't think that the convoluted game of the red question marks and the white
Oh,
question marks wasn't a
okay.
salient story?
Don't even get me started on that. Okay, so he says that you can win 3 things: comfort, shelter, food, or wait, nothing. There's 4 options, but
Yeah.
there's only 2 die. There's red or white question marks. So how would you get all white die and then you just randomly get one of the 4 options? What does that
play
even mean?
play the Thomas clip. Dice.
Dice,
Dice.
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 That I mean, that would have been
No.
that would be like the fullest extent. And to your point, like again, there was a lot of some would say Mario Party-esque shenanigans that went down to get the outcome that we did. I think that would be at least a bit of a bridge too far of like, all right, you're gonna roll these 2 dice that don't have anything on them, just white and red question marks. And we are going to determine what you get. You're not gonna know until tomorrow.
Oh my god.
Or it's
Yeah, it
all
was a disaster.
determined like on how you roll the die. Which like then why wouldn't I know? So I can tell my tribe before tribal council so that I won them stuff and they would be happy and maybe save me. Make it make sense.
Yeah, at least like with the ship wheel, which I will say also, can we bring the ship wheel back to Ship Wheel Island? I
I
feel
miss
like
the
for
ship
some
wheel.
I feel like for some reason, I think this has really been one of my largest sticking points with the new era. And I think, Team Flint does a fun job just with the idols and all the tasks that they do there. But I don't love as soon as your feet hit that beach and you read that sign, you don't have the option to opt out of the game. And maybe now we've gotten to the point where now everyone knows it. And so that's going to influence who's chosen on the journey. But it still rings a bit hollow with me. And so I miss Ship Wheel Island, right? Where it was like, okay, you have the chance to opt out if you want to. Like, yeah, you might get screwed over. But much like that, in those games, you didn't find out if you lost your vote until Tribal Council. So maybe Justin was going with that, but extending the timeline just a little bit of the next day they'll inform us.
The other thing I miss too is when the games were dependent on your like how you can read other people. So
Yeah.
like for example, a game of chance that's perfect if you incorporate something with reading others. For example, you need to get the most number of fire die or whatever.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
right? But if you roll, so many skull die, you're going to go out. So then there's something where you're like betting against other people, where you're like, look, I'm going to just get one fire die and clock out because I think everybody else is going to go far. They're going to bust. And then I'm going to be the one who wins the reward or something like that. Like something to, if you're going to do something random, you have to incorporate some survivor skill to it. So I think that to me is like a frustrating part. But my whole argument is that I think that Justin had an opportunity to advocate for himself and was in the winning position. Like he clutched defeat from the jaws of victory. Like that was how it felt. It was very, and from the edit we saw, okay, so granted from the edit we saw, it did feel like Justin it was the, from Drag Race, do something, Charlie. It was like, do something, Justin. Like, please, like, say instead of just like, man, I trust whatever you go with. Like, no explanation for why he lied. At least, again, what we saw. So, anyway, yeah, it was weird.
I do feel like Justin has like the hair to do a Cher runway. Like he wouldn't even need a wig. He's got that long hair to toss. Yeah, I mean, what's really interesting is again in the edit, even before we get into all this calamity, we dive a little bit into the iceberg that is the Mary and Say relationship. And Mary says, if you're out here to play, you need to push back. Otherwise, I don't want to work with people that are just sitting by the wayside. Cut to Justin. Then Mary says, Say pushes back, and she pushes me. Yeah. And that's kind of the result that, again, the edit is displaying to us, right? And of course, Justin expressed to many other people that he did make arguments. They did not make the cutting room floor. He talks about these powerful conversations that were had that we were not privy to, but he was, trying to ease off the break, being like, I'm good. Like, Cedric's my boy. And he also voted to keep me twice in this evening. Surely the third time is the charm. But then when push came to shove, it makes the most sense, Sasha, because last week Cedric says, this is like therapy. We're trying to make ourselves a better tribe. And so who else but this man to eventually settle on, all right, we're going to leave with some actionable items from this meeting. Say and Mary, you're going to squash this right now.
I'm telling you, he was giving pop, right? Like process, outcome, oh my God, purpose. It's just outrageous and I loved it.
It is so funny. When he goes, I'll make my decision with a stipulation. That sentence in and of itself just, Cedric. I love it.
I was in shock because I thought Jeff was going to be like, you're out of here. Bye.
Like, he's like, no stipulations. I make the stipulations.
Yeah. I'm the one in charge.
I just thought we'd get more, like sass from Jeff. Like sassy Jeff, I thought would come back in that moment. But maybe it was a long time.
I mean, if this was like, 3 to 4 hours long, I think even he's like, I'm tired at this point. Like, I'm ready to go to bed. I love that. Yeah, of course, when Cedric's going to start the stipulation, is Say going to say no? Like, no, I would never work with Mary. I'd rather die on my feet than live in my knees and be subservient to possibly working with this woman. No, of course she's gonna say yes.
Oh, so funny.
It's unfortunately to the detriment of Justin, who I think did have a very cogent game and just while to your point, Liana may have let the opportunity slip out of his hands a little bit in the form of those dice and otherwise did seem relatively well set up in the position that he was before everything went out. It does keep this incredibly delicious dynamic in the game 2 times over in Mary and Say. And it is wild to me that Mary obviously was target numero uno, was able to escape. And then I thought like, okay, Say is clearly done. And she was able to get by. And that means the two of them make it 1 round further. Sasha, this means more running through the jungle.
I love all of this, right? Like you could tell they hate each other. I saw online, right? Like putting them in the get along shirt. No, they don't. I think they would claw through that get along shirt. And I mean that with the utmost respect to the both of them because I want them to know I love them both. And I just hate when my faves fight. You know what I mean? Like I want to put them in a room and be like, now kiss, right? Like now you're best friends. Like no more, none of this, enough, right? Like I'm tired.
You're Cedric. Sasha is Cedric in this moment.
Let's vote out Cedric. I don't give it. Like no offense. Like I like Cedric too, but like Say and Mary are truly the most hilarious, like some of the most hilarious people I've ever not met. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
why is Mary just like swimming in the ocean? And then Say is like, that's wrong. That must mean she found something. And then Mary being like, ha ha ha, she'll think I found something. It's like they're so funny and cute supervillain that I need them to be part of my enemies to lovers storyline.
I'm not. I think I'm crediting this to. I think it was maybe Gabby or Sophie who posted this on Chat BCC at the time. But basically, for those who are fans of Killing Eve, they are the two leads.
Ooh.
They are the Villanelle and Eve of like they are diametrically opposed foes, but they have so much respect for each other, and they can't help but be drawn to one another because they also
Mhm.
have very similar aggressive playstyles, albeit one is on top and one is on the bottom.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm saying everybody voting me out, even my own like number one.
It
So
is
I
wild
don't
that she's
know.
gotten a vote at every single tribal council
Yeah,
she's gone to.
by her
Yeah.
own people. It really be your own people.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think for me, it was just really interesting to see the language that both of them were using when they spoke about each other. So both
Yeah.
in confessionals and as well at tribal council. I'm hopeful that as Cedric and Sasha would like that they will be able to patch up their relationship. Like I really really hope that they can because they're just so fun together and I think they really do like playing together. I mean that's we see Mary talk about that. We see Say talk about how much she respects Mary. I think that's really wonderful to see.
And,
Work
and,
together.
and, and also the fact that despite positionally where Mary was, she is like the only person on the tribe that knew how to mind F Say of being like, all right, I'm going to go swimming because that's going to imply to her that I have something. And
Mhm.
hook, line, and sinker, Say fell for that. Even at tribal council, like, Say once again, and I cannot believe they keep continuing to show this, like her openly calling out how much she hates shot in the dark. And then Mary being like, I might have something. You don't know. And Say
You don't
just
know.
giving that look to Jeff like Mary knows how to pick at her. And also the other thing is again the way that the two guys were presented to us is that they are more than happy to kind of just like sit back and let things go their course. And so Mary's like, yeah, I'm the only one that's kind of giving you your attention right
Mhm.
now. And I know
Yep.
what pushes your buttons, which makes me not only your worst enemy, but like also a peer at the same time.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think like you Survivor, yes, obviously there's a lot of well, it's literally a game built on strategy, but it is a social
Are you sure
game.
it's not built
And
on rolling dice?
that's what I heard. That's what I heard. I got some question marks that are saying otherwise though. So, you really have to just go with who you're like vibing with. So you can have some of an immediate because Say tried to bond with the women.
Yeah.
Say went to Stephanie and Mary and was like, "Hey, so like what's up?" And Stephanie was like, "We're getting to know each other." And obviously that didn't resonate with Say,
And
which is
Say's
why
like, nope,
she's
next.
She said,
next.
"Work. You got to
Say,
work."
I
do
mean, Say
next.
really did do the Vula speed dating,
Oh
where she's like, "All
God.
right,
Yeah.
give me your opening line." No, we're good. Like, you know what?
No.
Actually, Say is 2 decades removed. She would have killed it on MTV's Next. She would have
Oh
been
yeah.
Oh, that's
Next.
incredible.
Next. Oh, that would have been
or do
fantastic.
you think the pop the balloon like
Yes,
say would
Oh,
be so
that's how Say plays the game. She plays the game like pop the balloon. Like,
yeah, I just feel like she's like not interested.
or
Not
or she,
interested.
or she's like, I saw you go to pop that balloon earlier, Justin. You shouldn't have done that. So I don't trust you anymore, and I'm gonna let you know
Yep.
that.
I'm
yep, yep,
telling
yep,
you,
yep.
it's it. I don't play like Say, but like some part of me is like, no, but I think I'm petty like her. No, I know I'm petty like her. Let me rephrase. But I wouldn't like be so like I wouldn't be so in your face about it. And that's a my character flaw, not Say's. Because that is so funny that she just says everything to your face and then she's just somehow still here.
Well, because
And that's what I know.
and that's one of the many arguments she got in with Mary at tribal council, right? Where she's like, I'm very transparently honest. And like,
Yep.
yeah,
Mhm.
we kind of see that. And so what's so interesting is, and this is where the delicious hypocrisy lies with these reality TV people that we've been watching 25 years onwards, is right. People expect them to be treated the way that they treat people, for better and for worse. And so when Say finds out, when Cedric approaches her, right, being like, you should probably play your idol, she's like, wait a minute. But if people were voting for me, they should have been honest with me about it. So
Mhm.
why am I feeling a certain way? Because I would have told you if you were in danger.
Mhm. Yeah, it's Yeah, I mean, and that's where I'm very curious to see where her relationship with Cedric goes after this,
Yes.
because Cedric has now voted for her twice. And now has also, we even see, even before this vote, right? We see Say question Cedric's loyalty and especially being spooked by Kevin and everything. So, yeah, it's funny because even though we're getting the swap, and who knows, they could all be completely split up. It's like Vula's still a hot mess somehow.
I'm telling you, it's just the way that if my ally, right, like he could have voted for two people, and one of them is me, and and I'm the second person voting, right? Like, do you not understand how ridiculous this is? That this man could have just voted with me and ended tribal council, but decided to go against me twice when I'm the
Mhm.
only person voting. No.
Mhm.
Like when
Mhm.
I'd be watching him like this when he sleep. You know what I mean? To be like, so you really wanted to vote me out? Like
I
that's
Mhm.
crazy.
Tell me more about that.
I mean, not to reveal too much, because I know we might have a game about this. If you want to get into too much of like Say's quotes from Tribal Council, she was
Mm.
so quotable at this tribal, specifically in reaction to, because remember, she was the one in the first place that was like, Mary's either got something or she's going to play her shot in the dark. So let me throw a vote towards Justin. And the guys are like, it's fine. Don't worry. It's
Mhm.
1/6 anyway. What's the worst that could happen? And turns out the dice screws Justin over in more ways than one, as it ends up hitting. And she's, first off, she has that iconic quote that really represents their relationship, right? That's my girl, but in the worst way. And then once all the votes get nullified, she's like cursing under her breath and over her breath and on her breath, just being like, screw these guys. Cedric is the worst. This is why you don't listen to boys.
Yes, that was my
That
favorite in
was
the confession
so
in the
good.
booth, the voting booth. This is what happens when you trust boys. I wrote that down. Fantastic.
Inject it, right? Like that was so good. And I said, but she never lied once. But this is the thing. This is also Mary's energy. Is it that they're like so the same, like magnets that they're, almost being
Mhm.
pulled apart because of it? And I just that hurts me,
Mhm.
that hurts me because there's California girls, but then there's chaos girls. And I need chaos girls. I need them so
Chaos Girls. That's perfect. I love that for them.
No,
Yeah,
again,
that
I
is their
think I think
alliance
Thomas
jam.
and Bianca are trying to like take that title a little bit. And well, we didn't even point this out last week. Thomas getting stabbed in the eye by his closest ally.
Oh my god, that bruise I saw, I was like, "Oh my god, you poor thing." Thankfully, it missed his actual eye.
My
That could have
God,
been
yeah.
very serious.
Dr. Will
So,
has to be on call during 48
yeah.
because people are getting injured all over the place.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
my god. And as a clumsy person, I've actually definitely hit someone during like rafting like that, and it's terrible. So would
Yeah.
not recommend.
Maybe Thomas
It
is sort of like using this as his scar to be in his villain era, right? Because at least until Bianca
Ooh.
unfortunately lost her vote due to literally dice, like he was
Mhm.
ready to say, okay, maybe if we help Star find the idol, she could idol out who we want to, and even gets his own maniacal laugh.
Mhm. Ha 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 ha.
The
I
new
can't do it right.
Shantham.
Yeah, well, Thomas has been such a fascinating one to watch, especially his relationship with Bianca, because I think it's also very interesting to see the parallels of all of these duos forming. When Jeff said
Hmm.
this was a season dominated by duos, he was not lying. So I think you see like Joe and Eva, and you see their relationship. You see Eva like bringing beads and this whole thing,
Beads.
and then beads, and then Thomas just straight up lying to Bianca, despite the fact that they're supposed to be the closest. So it's really interesting. I don't know where it's going to go from there. We see how it could backfire for someone if you don't talk about, what happened to you on a journey with Justin and Cedric. Is the same thing going to happen with Thomas and Bianca in some capacity? It would be really fun to see parallels there.
She did that black eye without knowing what he did. Now if she knows, your
Yes,
eye is gone.com.
you
Yeah.
deserve that.
Well, I think also at the same time, maybe she felt indebted to him. She's like, well, shit, I gotta tell him. Like, I physically harmed this man. If I really want to keep him close, I gotta let him know. But that was also such an
Mhm.
interesting conversation because, again, we talk about like, I don't even say brutal honesty, just like outright honesty to have Thomas be like, oh my God, you were so good lying back there. I'm scared. It's like, what? Why would you say that to your? I mean, I guess good that she doesn't have a vote that you're then telling her like, oh, you were scary when you lied to all of us.
Well, I do wonder if it's a situation where, we had Shaheen have that comment about Thomas, right? Where
Mhm.
Thomas, Thomas is saying he wants to do all the stuff with the stars, Boer advantage. And Shaheen goes, that's dangerous. Are we going to see Thomas go, that's dangerous for Bianca? Like maybe that's a reason why he didn't tell Bianca about the advantage because he saw how well she could lie. Very curious.
I also love, like, again, we talk about people just putting really things out in the open this season, whether it's telling your tribe what happened on the journey, again, say, kind of airing out dirty laundry at tribal council, mostly with Mary. But then we have Eva giving Joe the beads, and what, 6 inches away from them, Shaheen is giving a look to Thomas, like, can you believe this shit? Like, and then he shakes it. Why were you shaking your head? Right there when you're like, you can probably feel the breath from one of them on the nape of your neck, and you're like, I do not approve of this, and I am showing that.
To me, it wasn't just the shaking of the head. It was how exaggerated it was. It was like,
So
no.
don't you feel like it was reminding you of my favorite Survivor season ever, Survivor South Africa, with the
Yeah, with Dino pointing at Jason.
yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like,
Maybe.
what are we doing here? Like, and then I wish we would have got the big shot of not just a zoomed in on his head, but I would have loved the like, okay, these people are back turned and he's just vigorously shaking his head. Is no one seeing this?
Okay, so I thought, I was like, maybe this is editing, right? Maybe he's not actually doing this. This is editing.
Right.
There is a wide so one, I looked at the
Okay.
color saturation. That
Oh
is
my
about
God.
the
Yes,
same.
that
This is
Bruder
why
Liana
you
Boraas.
get paid the big bucks.
It's about
Please
the
come
same.
through.
I also looked at the background to see if the background matched.
Okay.
And then I also, there is
Come
one
through
wide shot,
continuity.
and you can sort of see Shaheen starting to shake his head. So I actually think that it happened, which I can't decide if I think that's better or worse. I think it's better because what a mess.
Well, maybe Shaheen could just be like, well, Thomas was about to give himself a matching black eye, and I was shaking my head saying, don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't stick that.
Thomas
stick in your
was
eye.
gonna stick his foot in the bonfire, and I said, no, no, no.
No. We don't
Like
need you to have
that
a
feels
burn.
so Big Brother to me, right? Where you're just like being silly and and maybe you're risking getting caught. And then Tiffany, right? And Big Brother 23 would be like, oh, but we have to have like, reasons why we're talking that isn't game. I just, and now you say I have no food. I'm doing it in front of people. Granted, I'm winning a lot and there is a bonfire in front of me. So like I'm vibes, I'm happy. But letting your guard down like that, wild behavior. Wild.
Yeah.
I also need to touch upon, again, Siva, and it makes sense that they not only sound like, but are on the same beach as Siga, because this is a bit more of our vibes tribe. Now, maybe that will break up once the tribe does next episode, but we need to talk about the fact that you can make your muscles as big as you want, people, but arguably the biggest muscle everybody has is the heart.
Oh, not the brain.
And we find that out with David this week as he tells, a really sad set of circumstances. And sweet Kyle, I think he had the best. I really do say, I truly do think, because I think some people have bagged on him. I really think he had the best of intentions. I truly think he just completely misread what David believes in his living situation.
Oh my God. Okay. I know it looked like I was laughing at David's situation, which I have a lot of empathy. I'm happy that they showed it. I'm happy we're getting more dynamics with David and not just I've got 4 nipples. But Kyle, and it was funny the first time. It was even funnier on the rewatch because
correct.
The energy and enthusiasm between, oh, sick, dude. Like it was so over the top. It wasn't just like, oh, that's cool. It was like, oh, sick, man. That's the coolest thing ever. Like that was the energy that he was saying it with. And that's why it just doesn't read on so many levels. It's amazing television. I loved that moment.
Again, I truly am obsessed with Survivor 48. They're all my friends. Like they don't know me, but they're all my friends. And I'm so sad that Asia wasn't on this season. Do you know what I mean? Because, like, my God, they're so funny. But here's the thing, y'all. You will never make me hate David, right? Like, since the moment we met him, I said, this is a hilarious human being. And then he's like, episode 1, quoting rom-coms. Episode 2, nipples. Now he's like, no. Episode 3, I might be Johnny Bravo, but actually in my heart, I am like I
Courage the
move
Cowardly Dog.
mountains. Yeah.
He just wants a family.
Yeah, and like y'all, I say you could never make me hate him because I understand what Kyle was doing because they're like you said, Liana, the energy because Kyle later on says, "Oh, so does your dad have a lot of like
Land.
acres of land?" So I think Kyle was just on that trajectory of like seeing David a certain way, right? And I understand that because I feel like that happens to me a lot where I definitely get seen like X, Y, and Z, and then I'm like, no, like actually, blah blah blah. So poor David was like, no, I'm a stunt performer, but like I'm a real boy, like I have a heart.
Well, so I'll try to put a theory out here, maybe
Yes.
in Kyle's defense. What if he maybe misheard David, and when David said, "I have a trailer," he's like, "Oh, sick, dude! You're a stunt performer, and so you get your own trailer. That's awesome." And maybe did not necessarily digest only the tone, but the rest of the information that David was laying out.
I mean, the thing is, in the way that Sasha is David, that's misunderstood, I am Kyle, and that I am constantly flubbing social situations and misreading.
I mean, me too.
what
I
needs
feel
to
you.
happen.
Sick, dude.
Yes.
Oh, that's sick, dude. Yeah, because, but also, you don't want to be like judgy. Because what's Kyle supposed to say? Oh, David goes, oh, I live in a trailer in front of my dad's house. Loser. Like, Kyle's not going to say that. Of course, you're going to be like, oh, that's cool. It's just, again, I think like he should have been positive. It was just, oh, sick, dude. Like, it was just the wrong tone.
And it was also the follow-up where it's like, initially it's like he tried to back up, but he's also like, you don't like living with your dad, man? That sounds the coolest.
And I was like, what are we doing? Like, are we talking to a teenager, right? To be like, you gotta love your family. Like, you can't be in this like awkward adolescence, right? Like, I'm thinking a scene from Inside Out where he's like, oh, Ennui is here. I'm pissed off at everything, right? Like, and then Joy is like trying to talk to me and be like, it's okay. We gotta be happy. We can't, like Kyle is Joy. And completely. Again, I appreciate David in so many ways because he's like, no, I'm 38 years old.
Yeah, he literally responds by being like, what's cool about that?
Yeah, no, why would I
like
like that?
What's sexy about that? I think was his response.
Why would I like that? Yeah, like, oh no.
Like, you will never make me hate David. Like, he's so real and like random. Like, he's just so random because I think that's a fair thing to share. I think Kyle's best option would have been to be neutral. I don't know that I would have been because like nothing about me, right? Like, my face is zero poker face. So I think I would have been like, well, what do you mean? What's going on here? I would have been like, I thought you lived in LA. Because I'm thinking trailer parks ain't in LA. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I would have said some nonsense and it would have been terrible. So it's just the fact that he should have just been like, oh, okay, for sure, man. Right. And like left it or something and let David keep talking. But like the fact that he just kept being like, that's so cool. Plus, your dad must own a lot of land. And he's like, nope, it's just a driveway. I live in driveway.
Do you think maybe Kyle thought that David said, I'm in a trailer, like for the newest Marvel movie? And he's like, oh, sick, man. Give me the time stamp that I'll get to see you in.
What's sick about that, Mike? He's 38.
And I'm in a trailer.
Yeah, but then I mean, I think that maybe that's a possibility. There's no bad ideas in brainstorming.
Yes.
Based on the follow-up questions, I would assume that is not the case, but I like the energy.
I'm sure they're friends. So like, I would love for Kyle to just like explain, what he was thinking when he said that, or was it just like a basic? No, I really think like living close to your parents is nice, which I understand because I don't live close to my family. So like, granted, I would like my family to live close, but like, I'm not putting them in a trailer. But I would be like, at least you're living close to your family.
I don't know.
I'm getting voted out.
And then Sasha goes home. No, I give Kyle all the grace in the world because one, I
Yes.
do this fully fed and well rested. So the
Yep.
fact that he did it
Yeah.
on no sleep with no food, it's fun.
And-
It's just it makes for such a fun moment, and I think that's why I've been enjoying season 48 so much is because we've had so many of these
Yes.
moments.
Yes, exactly. Again, it is sort of like, again, I wouldn't call it like cringiness. It's just more so that people are so open about what they
Mhm.
believe about themselves and others that it leads to like these encounters where there's not a lot of subtlety happening, which is just so much fun to experience. Like this truly does feel like the sequel to season 46 in that
Mhm.
while it might not be as like wildly outrageous and hysterical as season 46, which I still think is just like a special gem in and of itself, this does
Mhm.
feel a bit like they're channeling that energy, and they had just watched the entirety of season 46 as well, so there might quite literally have been something in the water. I mean, what's also interesting is that David, it's a double-edged sword in him deciding to open up about all of this as well,
Mhm.
because I think it does allow his tribe members especially to kind of, feel that he is not necessarily the guy he's presenting at all times of like, all this guy knows how to do is pull-ups and talk about his, multiple nipples.
Yeah,
But
be the Chad.
like he's able to say like, yeah, to the Chad, which I'm so happy that Camilla officially now brought Chad
Mhm.
onto Survivor. 39 seasons after Chad himself was on Survivor. But this idea that he can say like, no, I am a human being. Like you can bond with me. Don't feel like we can't find common ground. On the other hand, he does present the stakes. And we know how he likes his stakes done. But he does say, like, if I don't win, I'm coming home to an empty trailer. And, like, I don't know. When you're looking for a reason to get rid of somebody in $1 million game, he kind of presented his final tribal council argument right there, right then.
Oh, David winning the season would make me so happy.
It'd be
I mean,
so
there's
Same.
other
good.
I just
people,
think
don't get
it's
me
so
wrong,
fun.
but how fun would that be?
David is the one that didn't know Jeff Probst, right?
Yeah, David was the one who didn't know
Yes!
Jeff's last name.
I need. That's what it's just I know something's going wrong or right in the no wrong in the world. I'll say it again. That I am obsessed with the Alpha Bros. Right? Like what's happening to me? Help me. Because there's like all of them are so funny. Like the fact that there's a California Girls Alliance and it's all these like
Mhm.
strong bros. And I said,
Mhm.
yes, allow it instead of being like dismantle.
So you're doing the opposite of
release.
this when you saw the California Bros
Yeah.
Alliance?
But it like instead I'm like, yeah, more please. Right? What's going on? Right? Like what's going on? So I'm obsessed with the Alpha Bros and for the first time I feel like ever I can be like, and if a man wins, maybe I'll be okay.
I'll allow it. That's your stipulation.
Maybe
Yeah.
depending on how
If
they
David
come out.
makes it to the final three and makes the same pitch and tells the story that he did to Siva, how many Kyle-esque reactions will exist on the jury? Maybe Kyle will be on the jury and warn them ahead of time. Like, all right,
Yeah,
whatever
guys,
you
when
do,
David tells
don't say sick, dude.
It is not a Marvel trailer. It is
It's not a Marvel
it
trailer.
is a literal trailer.
Don't
in a
Amelia
driveway.
Bedelia this like I did.
Oh,
my
that's so funny.
gosh. I love this cast. They're so funny.
Mhm.
Well, as much as we may all love this cast, we had to say
Mhm.
goodbye to one of them this week in the form of, as he was referred to by the tribe members that had him succumb to his fate, Pizza Man, Justin. So, Liana, Pizza Man was a very interesting subject. I know Rob was incredibly high on him, made him his winner pick. I think a lot of people echoed his judgments that they felt very happily surprised by the way Justin came across in the interview versus what you might see on the surface, the cheese laying on top, perhaps. So, how did that reflect with your predictions? How did you see Justin playing out?
I'm just gonna say, if I lose this, I'm throwing my computer out the window.
Oh no,
Okay?
Ron Swanson it?
Yes. Monday, megaphone, butthole, out the window. It's gone. Okay. I had Justin pre-jury.
Okay.
Okay. Justin doesn't do anything wrong per se, more like a consequence
like
of
the
being in the
person.
wrong, like the person, yes. More like a consequence of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Justin's laid back demeanor means he doesn't rub anyone the wrong way, but also isn't proactive about making connections with everyone. When Mary finds an idol, spooked by the loss of her closest ally, Stephanie, she decides to use her sole vote on Justin as she has the weakest connection with him. Before his premature boot, Justin gets a heartwarming confessional about his journey from Yale Law to his mother's leukemia diagnosis to working at Luigi's. I don't think we got that, but ignore that, Sasha. His allies were Kevin and Cedric. His enemy was Mary and her idol.
Okay.
Oh, I like it. I like
it also was the tone that you were saying of like so much fact.
Conviction.
Correct. I'm just saying, if Mike has a successful shot in the dark play and that's how Justin goes home, I'm throwing my computer out the window. Okay, so be careful, Mike.
I don't want to be Cedric. I'm very confused as to how that happened for me.
So then I guess to help Liana, should I say things in like a very questionable tone?
Yes.
Oh no,
Okay.
very, very nonchalant, right? Like
okay,
laid back. Hey man, Sasha, you're still invited to my house.
Yeah, I would not be Justin if I did not read it that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll just I'm wearing the shirt. I'll just say that I Justin making the jury. So what I said was as Vula continues to spin like a carefully tossed pizza dough, Justin remains the cool, long-haired head, careful not to get lost in the sauce. Justin finds a pair with Cedric as natural as pizza and breadsticks, but when Cedric loses his vote on a journey, he can only help but watch as his closest ally goes, putting a spotlight on him like a red-tinted heating lamp. Luckily, Justin finds a new, albeit more erratic partner in Say. Like pineapple and ham, the two surprisingly work well together throughout the post-merge. Justin shows off his crust-fit physique in the individual challenges, becoming an unlikely challenge beast. And so, in the mid-merge, just when Justin feels like he has a shot at the $1 million pie, he'll get sliced out of the competition, as Say helps surprisingly lead the charge against him, feeling he is too threatening and personable to move forward. Justin will close out his time on Survivor with a score above 1 LMPE, parentheses, Luigi's mention per episode. I guess I had clocked that for every episode, or I guess maybe some would more than others, he would mention Luigi's. His closest ally was Cedric, then Say, and his closest enemy was the producers, then Say.
Okay. You know, I must say.
No, now Leon's coming in from the sympathetic angle.
It was pretty good, Mike. I'm so mad at you.
The thing is, I mean, here's the thing. Okay, I would just have to say,
I'm opening my window.
I feel like Mike.
The window's the other way.
I'm opening my window.
Mike was so funny in his predictions on account that a lot of stuff he predicted would happen around Justin actually happened to Justin. Yeah. So that's that is a special skill. Like, and I mean that positively, not derogatory. You know what I mean? And then like the fact that he said Say leading the charge, he said Cedric his closest ally, and then hating the producers. Oh, ding! That is point for you. But I think the biggest ding, unfortunately, has to be Mike that you had him going so late because, and maybe that's my personal bias because I also had him going way too early for me to like give someone the win to say like they're coming so late. Like, ain't no way. Like Rob saying that's winner pick Rob B. So for real, I'll shut this podcast down right now. You know. Type energy. But yeah, so that's it. Like Mike, I just want to say storytelling 10 on 10. Okay. But otherwise, no. I'm sorry.
It was a nice story, but I was writing a tabloid rather than
it was giving like Daily Mail Royal Rhoda instead of maybe the reality.
Oh, that's great.
But yes, Liana just I feel like had good predictions, early boot predictions, huge win.
Okay, great. I'm very happy with that, and I can keep my computer, which I'm extra happy about.
We need her.
I'm curious, Liana, without giving too much away, did you predict there would be a swap in 48?
Ooh.
Nope.
Same. Well, I think it's because I put one in 47 just because I thought like, oh, they did one in 45. I think we now realize that the swap might be the like break glass in case of emergency button for the new era, where if a tribe goes to tribal council 3 times in the first 3 episodes, then it seems like they trigger it just because from a challenge perspective, it begins to be a bit much. And so it's interesting. Like I wonder in 46, because remember, by the grace of God, Randon ends up getting medevaced instead of Banu going. But if Banu had gone then, would they have triggered a swap? And what would it have been like if these people interacted with each other earlier than they did in this season?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I think also from the challenges they build, they're like, you need 4 people at least to run this challenge. We spent all this energy building this.
So that was the thing that was interesting. So I ran this challenge, the blindfold challenge, which I was
Mhm.
pumped about. You better believe they're like, "Do you want to be a caller?" I'm like, "No, I need to be blindfolded right now," which was very,
Ooh.
very fun. But what's interesting is when we ran it, it was 4 or 5 people. It was 2 pairs and a caller, which makes a lot
Mm.
more sense than like, "Hey, Joe, just kind of like scramble your way like a crab, scuttle across the course by yourself."
Oh, that was amazing. Also, even better on the rewatch. It's the speed at which he takes off. But he's, like you said, the crab. It's like the fastest crab in the West. He's just like off towards the bucket. It's so amazing. This episode was fantastic. Oh, I know, obviously logistics and all that fun stuff aside, but the reason why I love this episode, in addition to all of the macro moments, are all the micro moments. And yes, that includes Joe running off in the challenge. It includes Jeff Probst saying, David takes one where he'll remember, when he smacks into a pole around his nutsack. So what I have done is I have put together a game, The Devil's
Ooh.
in the Details. So we are going to be talking about little teeny tiny, even smaller than micro, nano moments, perhaps, in this
Ooh.
episode, because there was just so much to dig into. So we're going to go back and forth. I'm going to give you 4 options, and you will have to guess which one is correct. So, Mike, we're going to go ahead and start with you. We're moving to the bonfire party. What year was the stranded on an island red wine Joe
Oh.
offers for the bonfire party?
Okay.
Was it A, 2004, B, 2007, C, 2017, or D, 2024?
It was not. I'm gonna eliminate the first and last. I'm gonna, section in the timeline a little bit. I believe it was 2007.
That is correct.
Yes!
Oh, yes, that would have been my answer too. Oh,
Okay, yes.
Which was also, can we we can maybe stop down as well and like talk about these nano moments as well. That was so much fun. Again,
Uh.
to your point, Sasha, about like not judging a book by its cover. I think a lot of
Mhm.
people maybe realize this about Joe if you didn't take as much of a deep dive into his story of like how much heart he has, but the fact that he totally deadpan walks up and is the survivor sommelier and describes the tannins in the white wine, and Thomas also responding the way he did, like, God, I'm a little, as much as I love that now we're making these tribes a little bit more equal in terms of
Mhm.
numbers and challenge strength, like, I kind of don't want Loggy to be broken up, because what an interesting sixum of people.
And the
I
fact that they're
know.
so quickly able to come up with this stuff on the fly, right? Like he's like, "Oh, you like a red, so this is what I have to offer," and it's like so funny. And then it's like, "Oh, we have free Wi-Fi. We have the what." Hilarious. And I just appreciate quick-witted people like that. So good.
Mhm. Well, and especially with them being so, like, we get the emotional scene of them being low morale and things like that, but they're so funny. So even without food, right? Like, they're still kicking it.
Yeah, I mean, again, just the line said rather dryly by Thomas of "dry and empty," I can relate to
I
that
can
So
relate.
is
good.
Mhm.
incredible.
Yep. Yep.
Especially as like
Okay.
it's the shot of him with the black eye where it's
Yeah,
just
that
like, "Well, what the hell happened to you? Yeah, you're reading dry and empty right now."
Oh
It's
my
the smile
God.
also when he's like, yeah.
It's giving
Great.
like vampire, right? Like they sucked all the blood out.
I mean, speaking of that, I don't know if you've been paying attention to Instagram, but Sarah Michelle Gellar has been watching the season and is a fan of Thomas.
What a segue.
Hey,
I
come on,
love
Buffy.
this.
Yeah.
He loved, well, he said Buffy is the the best show on TV besides Survivor, and SMG has now slid into his DMs.
Heard the bat signal, I guess.
I'm
Yeah.
obsessed. I'm obsessed.
All right, Sasha, we're gonna go back to you
Ooh.
gonna go to you for the first time. Ooh, for your question. What does say not say? So say the human, what does she
Yes.
not verbalize vocally?
Correct.
Okay. While chasing Mary during the idol hunt.
Oh, okay. Yes.
I can see, is it A, I can see you? B, here I come? Is C, she's digging? Or D, come out now?
Oh my God. Okay. I feel like Mandela effect. I feel like I've heard all of it. So what was D again? I can see you, right?
D was come out now.
Come out now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. I just can't. I feel like I heard she's digging. The first two feel like so similar. Could you repeat A again? Sorry.
Yes, A was I can see you,
Yeah.
and B was here I come.
Yeah. Okay. I can see you for yes, I believe I heard that. I think for me it's between B and D. And I think I'm gonna go with B.
You were so close. It was D. It
No,
was
damn,
D. It was
damn.
come
That was
out
my
now.
first instinct too. So
I mean,
should've just
my
gone with it.
favorite though was her just like talking adamantly to Cedric and Justin, being like, "We have to watch her, and she's running."
Yep.
And she's running.
And she's running. Yep. That was so. And she's gone.
That I
And
mean, that
she's
feels like
mad.
following the presidential race in the summer all over again. Like, we have to do this, and she's running.
She's running. My favorite part though was say chastising Cedric for taking a
Yes.
nap. You will not be taking a nap in the middle of the day.
She said, "Wake up!"
Like you're
Wake
not working.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny.
Boston,
Mike,
come back.
This comment is for you. Question is for you. So, Chrissy may not have gotten a lot of screen time thus far. I believe she didn't have any confessionals this episode, but she had a lot of really fun lines if you're paying attention to the nano moments.
Ooh.
So, what does Chrissy say right before Kyle and Mitch capsize their boat? Does she say, A, take care, B, be safe, C, be careful, or D, stay safe?
Well, B through D feel ironic, so I think it's going to be one of those. The issue is you basically went through the thesaurus and came up with three
Yep.
incredibly similar sounding. So really, the devil isn't in the details here. I think she said, "Be safe."
That is correct.
What?
I
Wow.
was like, there's no, come on. Like, I got to make this hard for Mike. You know, he watches
Killing
that.
it.
Like, there's no way he's going to get this one.
All right, so
You are a
well, my
psychopath.
logic was, since you wrote "be safe" and "be careful," it had to be one of those two. You wouldn't come
Yeah.
up with two and then the safe one.
But I had stay safe, which is also
yeah, but
similar
that's
to be
it's sort of
safe.
like, if you've ever played the word ladder game where it's like,
exactly.
stay
It's a Venn
safe,
diagram.
safe haven. Like, yeah, you just sort of like connect the words, and so I thought it might have been B. I was trying to think like what was the most odd phrasing, because that would have been one that stuck out. But no, I guess the thing that sticks out is the irony of her saying "be safe" right before they tip the boat over.
Immediately capsized. Well, we're actually sticking with Chrissy for your question, Sasha. What does Chrissy say when Camilla gets back from the journey? Does she say A, welcome back, B, you missed a big one, C, you're just in time for lunch, or D, wait till you see what David found?
What did David
A fifth
find?
nipple.
Yeah.
He's had 5 all along.
Oh my god.
Turns out actually it's a really deep belly button. That's his fifth nipple.
Yeah, they dug it out.
Oh my gosh. This one is no idea. Like no idea at all. I didn't even know Chrissy talked, because I remember like seeing her Twitter being like, "Why are you under editing me?" basically. So this is crazy that we have actual words from Chrissy. Wow. It's so silly. Is welcome back too basic? You know what I mean? So the A. So that's why I'm struggling. I think it's me. Okay. I wonder if it's the did they fish? Am I making this up? I think I'm gonna go with lunch, the lunch one.
That is correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
That's
just
what
in
I
time for
remember. You're
lunch.
just in time for
Yeah.
lunch.
You're just in time for lunch.
Oh my god. Oh, I'm on the
Yep.
board. Thank you, Chrissy. I love you.
Okay. we're
Who
going back
says
to-
that on Survivor?
Yeah.
Oh, good. We have dinner reservations in an hour. Like, what? Who do you
Actually,
think you
that
are?
is the Loggy tribe, so I don't know what you're talking
That's
about.
true.
Yeah, they have
Yeah,
wine
they
pairings,
were a
Mike.
couple days away before the swap of like actually setting up their own in-house restaurant with like Shaheen as the maitre d.
Exactly.
The maitre SD.
I
A
love
sommelier of Joe. The
Yeah, well, yeah, Joe was the
sommelier.
sommelier. I think
Mhm.
what Bianca could be like the chef.
Mhm.
Yeah, it would be all of the movie, the menu, but still.
Mhm. Mhm. Mike, we're moving away from Chrissy, But we're going to Camilla because what
Oh.
sound does Camilla make when she gets to the Journey Yahtzee table?
Uh-huh.
Does she go, what? Does she go, oh? Does she go, oh? Or does she go, no?
Okay, so we've got what? We've got the Tim Allen.
Oh.
We've got what was it? Oh and
Oh?
no.
Oh.
Okay. Well, no, it would be interesting because again, Camilla is also someone who is like incredibly blunt. Like, I am hoping that her and Thomas end up on the same swab tribe because I think the two of them have such similar personalities and dispositions.
Mhm.
Actually, they could either get along really well, or this could be a neither can live while the other survives type of thing. So, like, no, I would not be surprised if she just outwardly looked at the table and said, "Nope, I don't want to do this. This is entrapment. Why am I rolling dice right now?" I'm gonna say there's such a fine line between wah and oh. I don't think she fully Tim Allen did. I'm gonna say she went oh see.
Okay. That is incorrect.
Ooh.
It was, oh?
So what's Tim
It was
Allen?
D. It was full Tim
Oh
Allen.
wow.
Yes.
I would not
Yes.
pick that either.
And I
Ooh.
re-listened to that to make sure I got the sound right because it's not it's so
I mean,
yeah,
to-
because I think I would
very
have picked
key.
B.
to reference
Ooh.
another Nano moment from the premiere, Jeff did say it was Tool time on Survivor. So maybe Camilla's had that in her head ever since.
Oh, makes sense. Planting those
Oh.
seeds, Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff's
With
like,
your
I don't know if you
tools.
realize, CBS is actually bringing back Home Improvement now more than ever.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go to Sasha. Here is your question. What greeting does Cedric offer to Mary, which she ignores, when
Oh.
Vula gets back to camp after the challenge?
Oh, brother.
Was it a fist bump, B, a high five, C, a low five, or D, an elbow bump?
So just to set the scene a little bit, maybe this is helping Sasha. So the scene
Yeah.
is that like they got back to camp because again, Justin went on the
Yeah.
journey. So like they've been walking together
Mhm.
from the challenge, and once they officially settle into camp, Cedric will offer this gesture that Mary will rebuff.
And I have a
Mhm.
screenshot that I will show
Okay,
after
great.
this
There's a
because
visual.
it's so funny.
Okay, so it's funny. So I feel like okay. So high five, low five, elbow, or what was the other one?
Elbow.
Yep. Fist bump,
Fist
high
bump.
five.
Well, I
low
guess Cedric
five,
is a
elbow.
medical professional,
Elbow,
so I think
yeah,
he's
okay.
still in the elbow period
Yeah.
post-COVID.
He's a dad. So this is such a dad thing he's doing, I feel. So do dads give low fives, right? Like I feel like that's a little bit when you're teaching your kid high five, low five now, do this.
In the middle, too
So
slow.
yeah. So it just feels like that it's too dad. I'm just gonna go with fist bump.
That is correct.
Oh,
and I
brother.
have
Yes.
the image to show. So Mary's just
Yeah.
walking past. Cedric goes to the fist bump. Mary just keeps on walking. I don't even think she saw it in her defense, but it was absolutely hilarious. Actually, while I have this up, I don't have any other visual clues. I just have a few other funny moments I didn't know how to write questions on. I don't know what this base is from Joe. He's
No.
pointing at the supplies. He's very excited about
Yeah,
the
he's like,
tarp.
oh, a hammock.
He's like Leo,
Ooh.
the Leo
Yeah.
meme.
Yeah.
Should have been like, which meme does Joe redo?
We actually did. Well, no, we did the I don't know. That's
Yeah,
what
you
we
did
had the
emojis.
emojis one
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. This also happened. It's David just standing there.
It's giving mom. I
Oh.
threw up.
Yeah, because I'm like, is he looking down at his like outfit to be like, how many more hits can I take?
Yeah, like maybe
Yeah.
he's looking down. Maybe he's trying to assess his crushed nuts.
Yeah, he's like, I'm trying to
Yeah.
have kids.
family,
I
Jeff.
Not
keep
anymore,
saying
David.
that. You're
Yes.
my family.
You need $1
jewel.
million for corrective testicle surgery at this rate.
Also, to step away from the funny moments for a second, I did notice something else upon the rewatch, which is they use the same shot of Cedric reacting to the lack of a third vote twice. So after the first time there were only 2 votes for Mary, he gives this look, which is the exact same reaction look that he gives. So either Cedric is masterful at moving and looking exactly the same way, or they reuse the same shot to show Cedric's confusion to there only being 2 votes.
Honestly,
So anyway,
I think it's 50-50 in either direction. Like, I would not be surprised if Cedric's like, and I will make the exact reaction every time I realize there's no vote.
Yeah, because
yeah.
I remember this, and I was like, why do you keep being surprised? Like, I remember
Yes.
thinking that.
Yes, that's Puya and I had the exact same. We were
Yeah.
like, why is he confused? He knows already. Like, he was confused the
Yes.
first time. Why is he confused again? So I think it's because they used the same shot.
And also,
twice.
to be
So
fair, Cedric confused us over the course of this tribal council, so it was her turn to wear it on his face.
Yep.
I will.
Okay, so we are all tied up going into the final 2 questions.
Oh, yeah.
Mike, here is your question. Bianca says, "See you later, baby," to the immunity idol when handing it back to Jeff. What does Mitch say when he hands back the idol to Jeff? Does he say A, bye-bye, B, yes, sir, C, see you soon, or D, no, Jeff?
Well, I think Mitch is very kind, especially after that conversation we had with Jeff. I don't think he's going to be like, no, Jeff, I'm keeping it. Especially now that we know Jeff is armed at all times. I do not think you want to trifle with that man. I think bye-bye is a little too simple. See you soon is a little cocky, but I maybe this is my own Mandela effect. Like, I think I recalled him saying that, which is odd because I feel like when somebody does say that, Jeff typically calls them out of like, oh, you said see you soon, but for some reason he glanced over it. So for that reason, I'm going to say, was it C that was see you soon?
No, it was yes, sir.
Yeah, that's what I would have picked. I was like, that feels like a
yes,
Mitch.
sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I respect Jeff answer.
All right, so Sasha,
No.
let's see how you do with your final question.
Okay, I'm ready.
When Mary is searching for an idol, what does she do to her face? Does she doesn't poke herself in the eye. That's okay. That doesn't happen. There's no Thomas situation here. But does she A, cover her mouth, B, raise her eyebrows to open her eyes wide? Does she C, fold her ears forward, or D, plug her nose?
What?
So really, if you limit or try to focus on one of the senses, it will help the other one. The rising tide raises all boats here.
Oh my gosh. So the question is, what was she doing, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Oh
She was doing something with some part of her
No, I'm
face.
just kidding.
Correct. She manipulated
She
some
was
part of her
swimming.
face.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm being called to the ears, but I don't remember seeing that. So that's what I'm stressed out about. Plugging her nose is outrageous unless she was like by the poop area or something.
Could have been.
Opens her eyes wide, like all of the rock. I like that. Or covers. Okay, I have zero idea. Shot in the dark, Mary. Please, does it hit? We will see. Where I think that she does her ears. I think that's so crazy and probably wrong, but I just like
That is
it.
correct. She folds her ears forward. I think she was listening for Say. Because when I first saw it, I was like, why is she doing that to help her look for an idol?
It's really odd. Yeah, she tries to like
Say was part of this.
She tries to be like a bat where she is like,
yes.
but it's like out of context, where I think the logic was sound of like quite literally sound of I have to listen to see if Say is coming, but it just randomly cuts to you because Say's like, oh my god, Mary's so good at this game, and it cuts to her holding her ears.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, and now I fully remember that. That's why it shut up my brain, because I was like, in reality, I just remember her being chased by Say. So what will that equal to this?
Yeah. So congratulations, Sasha. That was very impressive.
Yeah,
Mike,
very
you also did extremely well as well. You both really picked up a ton from this episode that I only really even got on the rewatch. So I'm very impressed. There were a few other moments I didn't end up using. There was an interaction between Say and Mary where it's before Mary bolts again into the woods, where they're talking about water, and Mary's like, well, you say you drink a lot of water, and Say's like, I drink a lot of water, which is why I can survive off of not a lot of water.
That I
just a
fully
delightful
remember.
moment.
Like a
Yes,
camel, she
nerd.
saved up a repository of water that she can live off of.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have a lot of water. Well, I have like 60% or some weird number is what Mary I remember even saying.
When both Loggy and Siva come into the immunity arena, I suppose, Loggy's cheering, Shaheen goes, "You know who's here." Jeff goes, "That's an entrance." Then when Siva enters, Jeff goes, "Good morning, Siva," and Chrissy replies, "Good morning, Jeff. How are you?"
You're just in time for lunch.
Yeah, exactly. Just another little funny Chrissy moment.
It's
So
brunch
really,
time.
it's time for brunch. So yeah, just a beautiful episode, very full of little teeny nano moments.
I
Yeah.
love.
Which is, again, this is why we like
Killed it,
the
Liana.
90-minute episodes. Good,
Mhm.
fantastic job, Liana, for picking
Yes.
through some of those smaller moments. Again, I think a lot of people pay attention to what happened in that latter third and don't necessarily think
Mhm.
about the simultaneous lack of screen time, yet preponderance of a bunch of random things that Chrissy had said over the course of
Mhm.
this episode.
Yeah, it's like, what? Okay.
I
She's
literally
there, she's
couldn't
doing the
believe
best.
Chrissy spoke like now until you said this. So,
Yeah, she had 3 one-liners.
Right.
And they were
Good for
all
her.
bangers.
Amazing.
I did also notice, I don't know if you noticed as well, that Loggy might be one of the rowdiest tribes to enter challenges. Like everyone, the boat challenge last time, he's like, I like it, but they're like, "Ah! Wee! Jump!
Yeah, exactly. Very cartoon
Oh
character.
my gosh.
I mean, again,
Best entrance, right?
I mean, it's
Mhm.
interesting because, when Justin talked with me, he had said that what was so odd is that he felt that Siva and Loggy basically had first round buys in terms of Survivor. And like, Loggy kind of has been acting like that, right? They have Wi-Fi, they have wine pairings, they're making bonfires, they're hooting and hollering as they're walking into challenges while Vula's like, can this be one where we maybe have a shot of not getting decimated at this point?
Oh my god. Can we have a muscle, bro? We don't
Can we
need
just
two muscle, bro.
borrow?
Yes, to quote Bianca,
borrow
we don't need
David.
two
Yeah.
muscles.
Well,
Yeah.
give it over there. Because do y'all think that Survivor conspiracy theory time that they do disaster tribes on purpose?
I just don't understand how they can look at the tribes and be like, yeah, Vula's got a shot. I don't know. Like, it's so tough for me to believe that. But I think also they're probably designing. I mean, I don't know what logic goes into designing the tribes, right? So I think, sure, balance in tribe strength is probably part of that. But I think you're also looking for what's going to be fun dynamics. So it's tough to balance those two priorities.
Oh yeah, so I have a lot of thoughts about this. And there could certainly be a thing that's like, well, we want to create drama early on. I think to Liana's point, that plays out with putting certain people together. Like,
Mhm.
I would not be surprised if they put Say and Stephanie on the same tribe, knowing that these two personalities would not get along
Yeah,
from
fair.
the jump. I don't know if they would do that with a tribe overall. I personally, and look, I could be incorrect, and the thumb might be on the scale. I credit it to a few different things. Yes, I think from a physical strength perspective, Vula was completely outmatched. If you look at the challenges we've had in the past 2 episodes, though, like the swimming challenge, there could be the biggest guy that just sinks like a stone in the ocean. And what happened with Vula was that it just came down to literal balance and dexterity. This past challenge wasn't about physical strength at all. It was all about communication and puzzle skill. So I actually think, on the one hand, yes, the physical strength was specifically reserved for the premiere. On the other hand, there's also something about momentum, right?
Yeah.
There's also something about, like, if one tribe, and luckily Kevin was able to get those supplies due to Kyle's actions, that they're not Yanu completely left dead in the water without any flint, like, but they lost early on, and when you do that, you tend to lose. It's kind of tough to pull yourself out, especially once other tribes start sitting people out. I'm more so accredited to this 3-tribe structure, to the fact that
Yeah.
I think
fair.
it is just much harder to balance 3 tribes rather than 2, to split up all sort of sets of skills equally. Obviously, much easier to do when you split the cast in half rather than thirds. I mean, look at the fact that, okay, between Ua in 41 and then Tika, Lulu, Yanu, now Vula. That's 5 out of 8 seasons in the new era that have had one tribe lose at least 3 challenges in the pre-merge. I think it's a feature, not a bug, but not in the way of like, oh, clearly the producers want this to happen. I think in their ideal world, they would want it to be like a 42 or a 43 or a 47, where like different tribes keep going back to tribal council. I think it is a product of them trying to split things up and having difficulty doing so just because it's almost impossible to do with a 3-tribe structure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good point in terms of the momentum and also the, not having the flint and the low morale and all of those kinds of things. Because, yeah, like this challenge, for example, there was essentially 0 strength. I mean, it was pulling the rope, I guess, would have been the only like physical strength.
I literally pulled that rope and look at me. Like it was nowhere near strength required.
Yeah, but you're powered by pizza, Mike.
Ooh.
POP or PvP.
Yeah, you know me. Yeah. So
Now, what
anyway,
happened
I
to
don't know.
Justin? I'm just kidding.
That could have been. It could have been that he gets his superpowers from pizza, and he was a
Ooh.
week removed from it at that point. That it
Oh,
all just
fair,
kind of like
fair.
left his system.
He just powered down. I need pizza.
Before we go, I do want to mention something from my interview with Justin, which was pretty wild. So Justin, this is actually not the first time he had an experience with casting. For those that don't know, Justin has revealed that he apparently was in the casting process, I believe, last year, and he got a check from medical as part of the casting process. And they discovered that he like had a heart condition that he did not know about. And luckily he was able to like go take care of it and, be in a clean bill of health by the time he was able to come out from 48. But like absolutely wild. I mean, I think this was a Jimmy Johnson story as well, if I remember, from the Nicaragua reunion, where he was like, yeah, when I was supposed to come out for a previous season, but then when I got a health check, I realized that I actually had high blood pressure and that could have saved my life. Apparently that was a similar case with Justin. And I think maybe that does explain as well, like some of the attitude and gratitude he had for when he left, because he was just like, yeah, I mean, there was a very fair chance that they could have just thrown me by the wayside once they found out that I wasn't medically cleared back then. But they gave me another shot. And so I was playing with house money at that point. I'm not a gambler, but I was playing with house money.
Yeah. I do think is that more indicative of the American healthcare system than anything else? Because I'm applying to Survivor just to get the medical check. I don't care about being in the show. I just want
Right? I'd have been like,
what's anything wrong with me.
I would have been like, that's Survivor gods helping me out right there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe when Jeff is saying like apply, he should bring in more of these like, if you want a free physical, apply to be on Survivor.
Yeah, it comes to the free physical. Oh my god.
Well, to finish things off, talk about, drawing attention to institutions that exist outside of this game. Of course, at the end of every B&B podcast, we give our guests the opportunity to highlight a charity or cause that is important to them. Sasha Joseph, eyes are on you right now. What do you want to highlight for the listeners out there?
Great. I wanted to highlight, just like folks that came before me, right? Where I wanted to highlight a cause called Race Forward. They're an organization whose mission is to really do racial justice work in partnership with communities on the ground and organizations and sectors where they really like bring communities together and invest in communities and gives community strategies as well. They host a really big racial justice conference that I actually went to called Facing Race as well. So really, again, to like teach people doing like DEI, which isn't a bad word, DEI and race and social justice work and education as well. So they bring us all together to like do a lot of teaching and learning. So I wanted to highlight their work because DEI and race, and I know personally, is under a lot of struggles. I work for a company doing similar work. So just look out for these companies or these organizations or things on in your local communities and help those people out.
Incredibly valid. Very, very well said. And Sasha, you're going to keep on speaking even outside of this Survivor podcast because you have a lot going on in terms of podcasting out there in the RHAP universe and beyond. What would you like to plug for the listeners out there?
Yes. Of course, I am talking pop culture, celebrity gossip, celebrity things. If you want to know why a ghost hunter or the show from Ghost Adventures, I believe, had his wife with a plot to kill him. You know, no more
One of the
on
ghosts or the main guy?
the main guy on the show had his wife tried to kill him, like a whole plot. Like she hired a hitman and everything. And it's ridiculous because she was talking to someone in jail, like trying to get a hitman. Anyway, ridiculous. Check this and
There's got to be
more.
better ways to get a hitman than to
I'm
go to a
telling you, like,
jail.
girl, what are we doing? Like, you're famous.
That feels like booking your anniversary dinner like years in advance. Of like, well,
Mhm.
once you get out and once you get out on good behavior, maybe you could do this for me. I feel like there's much more immediate places you can peruse.
Yeah, so it's ridiculous. There's so much more. So everything ridiculous we're talking over on Mess Magnets. Check that out on messmagnets.com. And Jason Reed and I are talking Daredevil Born Again. It's so much fun and
Yeah.
the gang's back together.
Would
So
you recommend it
yes.
for especially for fans of the Netflix version?
Correct. Oh, very much that. Less Daredevil, not as much fighting, but we're only 3 episodes in, so I think there's a lot of world building that needs to happen, but feels very exciting, like gritty, like the Netflix show.
Not the
So would
mascot.
recommend. I'm obsessed. Love it. So check that out on We Know Scripted TV. And Jet Lag is also back. So if you love The Amazing Race, with Mike and Jess, then you like Jet Lag. Trust me, because you like Amazing Race plus Taskmaster all comes together. And Taryn and I are talking Jet Lag over on Robinson Podcast YouTube. So check it out. Talk to us in the comments. Listen, we even interview the people that were on the show. So it's a whole vibe. Check it all out. Thanks.
All right.
That's it. That's it.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Sasha, cannot wait to check out all the great stuff you're doing. Liana, what about you? I
Mhm.
heard you had quite a spicy week this week in the world of
Yes.
podcasting.
So the Puya and Liana Lounge, we celebrated our 10th episode by doing a Hot Ones challenge where it was more like eat oh my God, there's like a name for it. It's like you have to answer a question or you have to eat a
Truth or
spicy
dab.
wing. Yeah. So
Mhm.
it was an interesting experience. I'm not a fan of the spiciest food. So
It was
Well, I
very
wonder what gave
funny.
that
I'm
away.
sorry.
as you can see based on my
Very
skin tone. No, but it was very fun. And so I highly recommend you check it out. PuyaandLiana.com for all of that fun stuff. Oh, and then Drag Race also. So we had Sugar Free, who's a drag queen, on as a guest
Yeah.
last week. And then Beth is going to be back joining us, Amon and I, of course, to talk about this episode from this week.
All right, I plugged this a few times. Conversation with Justin for Parade. Really great. I think he filled in a lot about his thinking that we did not get shown at this tribal council. Again, this wild health scare that he had. He also talks about why he turned on Kevin, which was, it seems like actually more so about less so that he was untrustworthy and more so that we were afraid Kevin was going to get medevaced and we didn't want to vote somebody out and then have Kevin get pulled the next day. So again, a lot of really great insights from Justin. Really enjoyed talking with him, as well as the team most recently eliminated from The Amazing Race. Had a really fun episode 2, as well as episode 2 recap with Jess, and plenty more to follow. I might have a reality flash in the works as a bunch of these cast lists for random upcoming reality shows coming out. I've got to break it all down because I don't know if like everyone's trying to be the traitors or if this is like one big coincidence, but it certainly feels like reality all-star shows are out and about, and I will be there to break it all down for you in a flash. That being said, we'll be back, and before you know it, in a flash, if you will, next week, breaking down the swap episode of Survivor 48. I am very intrigued to see how this goes down. Actually, for the curious, your boy tried to do his best Liana Boraas and analyze the promos, and I was able to discern who the swap tribes are. So if you want a little bit of a jump as to what things might be going down next week, you check that out over on my social media. But regardless, it's sure to be messy. We are surely going to get some of these combative pairs either split up or put together on the same tribe, which should be very exciting as Survivor 48 moves into its next phase. And with it, a whole new batch of games. If you have any game ideas that you want to send us, you know what to do. RHAPBNB@gmail.com or hashtag RHAPBNB on social media. Any and all game suggestions are welcome. We are an open book in that regard. That's going to do it for this week's episode of the B&B. Special thanks to everyone behind the scenes at RHAP for packaging this podcast for your eyes and ears. And Wolf from America for his fantastic theme song that you're listening to probably in just a matter of moments on the audio version. Liana and I will be back next week covering the swap on Survivor 48 and assumingly all the mess that will follow. Until then, everybody, we'll check you out at your next stay.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.